whatever you wind up doing is exactly what you should be doing.
And I have not behaved one single day of my life. Not one day of my life have I behaved, and I am fine.
I need your help. I can't tell you what it is. You can never ask me about it later, and we're going to hurt some people.
Whose car are we going to take?
Are you all preparing for this stormy day that hasn't arrived in San Jose, my neck of the woods, just yet? But thank you for joining us on the Nikki Medoro Show live on YouTube at noon Pacific or anytime, because that's the amazing thing about YouTube. Huntington Beach getting sued again. This just happened. The announcement was just made this morning. I have some sound bites from Attorney General Rob Bonta and Governor Gavin Newsom. They are not messing around, Huntington Beach. And it kind of begs the question. It just seems like they don't want to. And are there just some parts of the state that are just too beautiful to allow ADUs in the backyard and all kinds of stuff like that? So we'll get into that in just a moment. Also, San Francisco's District Attorney Brooke Jenkins has decided to reverse her position on the sanctuary city policy. The feds wanted her to kind of tell whether or not these two people that she wanted to detain and arrest and charge were illegal immigrants. And so she listened to immigrant groups and reversed course. Does this change how you view the DA? Because some people are saying, she's flip-flopping. Thought she was going to be stricter on crime. And I don't think we ever got into this whole idea of kind of pushing aside the sanctuary city policy if it deals with someone that's dealing fentanyl, for instance, because that idea was thrown by the wayside. Alameda County tried to get off cheap with this family that was unlawfully detained by Alameda County Sheriff deputies. He tried to offer this family $700,000. I'll tell you how much they actually were awarded when they took it to trial. More details on what California is actually going to do in response to Walgreens' stance on the abortion pill in other parts of the country. We will, of course, like I mentioned, be on storm watch. The emergency declarations are being made. Please send me pictures and videos. TheNikkiMedoroShow.com is my email. TheNikkiMedoroShow.com. Send them to me today, tonight, into the morning, and I'll share them tomorrow, because I'm thinking overnight, like tonight and overnight and tomorrow morning is when we're really going to get the brunt of all of this stuff and all of this rain that is heading the way our way. So again, TheNikkiMedoroShow.com. Send me those storm pictures and videos and we'll show them tomorrow. Hoping the power stays on, of course, because some people, I feel for people up in the Tahoe area, even down in Southern California. We've been talking about seeing unprecedented snow. In the second part of the show, we'll welcome back Jefferson Graham. He has that YouTube show, Photowalks TV. If you have not subscribed to it yet, please do. He's going to join us. I took a picture. Kim took a picture of some moon shots. I mean, mine's not too bad, but I want it to be better. And he has some tips and tricks on what we can do to make our iPhones be better cameras, which is why I buy a phone. I don't know about you. And then finally, a little lighter to end the show. No more red carpet at the Oscars. How many of you are going to be watching the Oscars? Of course, Tim Sika will join us tomorrow, and we will talk about movies. So before we get to all of that, please click the thumbs up. You know how much I love it. Click the thumbs up. It supports the show. The super chat is live. This is a way where you guys can donate money either during the live broadcast or even after. And thank you guys so much, because I do see those. I've been trying to heart some of the messages that you guys are giving because so many more of you watch it in replay because you can't make it. I understand it's a work day or what have you. But the super chat is live, and you could throw myself and Kim McCallister, who I share the money with, some money there. Become a Medorable, as I love to say, and join our Patreon. It's really simple. Some of you have been bumping up your monthly donations as we keep this show going. And I get it. Some of you messaged me and said, I was just trying to see if this was going to be a long-term thing before I committed to a monthly donation. And we're still here, right? 100 plus shows later. So the NikkiMedoroShow.com is where you can get the link to our Patreon, and you can sign up to become a Medorable and become part of the cool club. Also, there's links to our past YouTube shows to share with your family and friends, and tick those subscriber numbers up for us. The PayPal's up and running. The Nikki Medoro Show at gmail.com. I try to keep it as simple as possible for you people. And then finally, some merch. There's so much merch up on the merchandise site. It's the Nikki Medoro Shop, the NikkiMedoroShop.com. And of course, Kim McCallister will join us in just a moment as well. But let's get into Huntington Beach. So this morning, it was officially announced by Attorney General Rob Bonta and Governor Gavin Newsom that Huntington Beach, the city of Huntington Beach, is being sued. And this is the second time the town has been sued. Here is Attorney General Rob Bonta making that announcement this morning.
The city's ban on any and all applications to build housing under SB 9 or state ADU law is illegal under the Housing Accountability Act, under SB 9, the ADU law, and the Housing Crisis Act. Laws specifically in place to address our critical housing needs, to give more families the ability to help themselves while helping our state combat a very serious housing shortage. When actually followed, SB 9 streamlines the approval of duplexes and lot splits in our single-family neighborhoods. California Senate Pro Tem Toni Atkins, one of our state's strongest leaders on the issues of housing and homelessness, authored this law. And she did so to open the door for more homeowners to have the choice to build housing on their own property. Instead, Huntington Beach has decided to slam the door in homeowners' faces. California's ADU law, when adhered to, makes it easier for families to build a granny flat on their own property. At a time when finances are tight for so many, this law makes it easier for a homeowner to create a separate source of income or provide an elderly relative a place to age with dignity, or a child an opportunity to live in California. The city has decided to make things anything but easy. It's their choice. The thing is, no one gets to pick and choose the laws they want to follow. You can advocate against legislation when it's proposed. You can call, you can email, you can go in person and speak at committees or to legislators. You can tweet at the governor not to sign a bill. You can challenge the law in court, but you cannot throw a law out the window because it doesn't suit you, because you don't want to follow it. The law is the law. It applies to everyone. That's why we're also reminding the city council today that the ordinance they introduced to exempt them from the builder's remedy provision is still illegal. Remedy. We stand ready to pursue action if they adopt it. The laws are clear, as is Huntington Beach's willful, intentional refusal to follow them. That's why we're in court, challenging the city's unlawful actions and asking the court to suspend their enforcement while our lawsuit continues.
So there you go. That's the official announcement from Attorney General Rob Bonta. I mean, Huntington Beach, look at it. It's gorgeous. And I feel like they're willing to take on Newsom and the AG because they just don't want more people to live there. And I understand the emotion. Believe me, I get it. When you guys tell me there's too many people, and it is a conservative also area as well. So I'm not saying they all feel this way, but Huntington Beach, it is conservative. So they may not want a certain type of person to move in there. I have no idea. I don't know. I don't live in Huntington Beach. I know some people that own some property there. But you don't get, like he mentioned, you don't get to decide that you're not going to help the state of California meet its housing goals. You're not going to tell people that want to build an ADU or a unit, even though Chris doesn't like that. He's like, granny flat is cringe. But that's a nickname for it. A mother-in-law unit, whatever. You can make some decent money and help ease the burden on the housing in this state. You don't just get to put your head in the sand and say, you know what? It's us. It's our town, and we just don't want it. And screw you, Newsom. Again, Governor Newsom was there as well. at this announcement today with the Attorney General, Rob Bonta. Well, there he is with his glasses on. Let me play you a little bit of what the governor had to say about this lawsuit.
Huntington Beach is one of the most spectacular parts of this state and this country. It's a beautiful community, incredible people, and they're not being well served by the city council. And here we go again, second time. 2019, they pulled this same stunt. They lost. They lost in court. They were forced to settle. They wasted time, energy, and taxpayer dollars. They're doing precisely that yet again. They're thumbing their nose, I guess, for attention, but it's coming at the cost to the community and those they claim to serve. The issue of affordability can fundamentally be addressed by, well, going back to your 7th grade Econ 101 class. Supply, demand, 2.5. Exactly right. AG Bonta was correct. 2.5 million housing units is the statutory goal and expectation. And within the next 8 years, what we refer to as our RENA goal, these regional housing goals, under the housing element, she set out planning and strategies for housing at all income levels. All income levels. Again, we're all better off. We're all better off. We are all in this together. They've chosen not to follow state law. It's crystal clear. This is a waste of money, a waste of time. They will lose again.
They will lose again. Because this, again, like I mentioned before, this happened back in 2019. In 2019, California sued Huntington Beach in the state's first ever lawsuit, accusing a local government of ignoring a state law mandating that cities and counties identify enough properties to accommodate new residential development. We talked to Emily Hoven with the Chronicle. She was with Cal Matters about this recently. You know, in some of these cities and counties were being ridiculous to try to meet the law by pointing out spots where you can never build housing. I think one was in the water, right? It was ridiculous. These cities and counties were thumbing their nose. And this is why the state is taking the action that it is. But Huntington Beach doesn't care. Now, Huntington Beach agreed to settle the case a year later in 2020 by adding an amendment to their housing plan that made it easier for developers to build multi-family housing. But this latest lawsuit that the governor and attorney general just announced comes a couple days after the city council in Huntington Beach took an initial vote to limit home building in the town by ignoring all applications filed by developers under the builder's remedy. Now, you'll remember, we've talked about this a lot. The builder's remedy allows developers to bypass those zoning regulations and restrictions because they don't enact their own housing plan. So they want it both ways. They don't want to come up with a plan to meet the goals that the state has laid out. And then the consequence of it, the builder's remedy, they're like, nah, we're not doing that either. I mean, what's the answer here? What's the answer? Now, Randy writes, maybe we just have too many people in California. Okay, Randy, maybe we do. What do you do about that, though? What can we honestly do about that? What can we do about the fact that people want to live in this gorgeous ass state? I'm all ears. We can't just start dragging people out, right? I mean, what we're doing is kind of a way of getting some people out, right? Housing is unaffordable, so some people move. We have a homeless problem. Some areas have huge drug and crime problems, so people move. Not enough people, though. Not enough people are moving. Karen's saying the same thing, echoing with you, Randy. Not enough water or housing. Not enough electricity either. True. There's going to be a point where people will make a decision on their own, but that doesn't mean we wait for enough people to leave the state of California before we start to build more housing. And Huntington Beach just wants to ignore it. I feel like they're like, just ignore it. Just don't pay any attention to it. And maybe they'll just go away. But because they're blatantly ignoring these laws and they've already, been the focus of this, because they've already been the focus of the first ever lawsuit regarding ignoring housing laws, Newsom is going to make them the poster child of what happens when you ignore state housing laws. Yeah, and it's simple supply and demand, Kim, just like Governor Newsom said. Let's welcome Kim McCallister to the show. And Kim, we're talking about the AG, Rob Bonta, and Governor Newsom announcing this lawsuit today.
Yeah.
With the second one against Huntington Beach, because they just don't want to build the affordable housing. They're going to ignore the builder's remedy consequence. And on one hand, while I understand the desire to not add people to your town or your area, and you don't want to change how it looks, and blah, the reality is we live in a state that's growing, that people want to live in. And when you're a beautiful coastal town, people want to live there.
Yeah.
And when you have too many people, you're going to have to build more housing. That's just what happens.
Yeah.
I just don't know what the answer is. Some people say there's just too many people. Yeah, but
or you don't build more housing and people have to go somewhere else.
Well, but there's a consequence to it. I mean, obviously there's the lawsuit, and then there's the builder's remedy. And now you're losing control of where the housing can go, because now it's going to be left up to developers. That's the consequence. Yeah, I don't know. Can't they build more to the Inland Valley, as they call it down there? The thing is, okay, let me ask this question. And we have Steve Moskowitz. I want to get to Steve Moskowitz in just a moment because I don't want to leave him waiting. But I'm going to ask this question, and you guys ponder this. Are you saying that there are places in California that are either too beautiful, too rich, too whatever, that they don't have to abide by state housing laws?
Well, listen, I'm never going to be able to live in Atherton. I'm never going to be able to live in Beverly Hills.
Why?
I cannot afford to do that.
Unless they built more affordable housing.
I just feel like, why shouldn't
they have areas where they can live and have more land? Why?
But
because
why should they be forced to do it? I don't know why there should be. Yeah,
why should
I don't know.
Be?
I think if you are of a certain income level, you go where you can afford.
So poor people in poor neighborhoods should bear the brunt of the growing California population and deal with all of the housing and congestion and all the health effects that brings. No other state, because they're rich and powerful, should have to do that. I live next to the ocean, so that exempts me from carrying on some of this burden of housing people in the state of California.
I mean, I don't know why people would expect that they would be able to live in these fancy neighborhoods. I don't expect to be able to live there.
That's interesting. Okay, I'm going to get to Steve, and then we'll get into this more. This whole expectation. Why should rich people expect to be exempt? Why should rich people expect for everything to always stay the same for them just because they're rich? So those are two kind of opposite ends of typically the same question: is who has to carry the burden and why? I want you guys to explain to me in the comments, why should it be that way? And because I totally understand what Kim is saying. I didn't think that I could live on, in Manhattan or wherever, because it's very expensive to live there. And yet people of all income levels are expected to work there, right? Expected to be part of the community. So we'll get into that in just a moment. But I do want to take a moment to talk taxes and to talk about all the issues that you may be facing. So let's welcome our founding sponsor, Steve Moskowitz. Hello, Steve. I can imagine you're a busy man right now. I can only imagine how busy you're getting.
But not too busy for your viewers.
I love it. Thank you.
And we have a whole firm. It's not just me with a pencil doing somebody's tax return.
I would hope
and
so.
it's so vitally important that the returns are done correctly. And a big deal here is talking to people and making sure that those returns are the most advantageous for the person. So many times when we take a new client, the client says to me, "Are these new laws that I'm benefiting from?" And we say, "No, they've been around for years." And they say, "Well, how come my last guy didn't tell me that?" I said, "Well, that's why you're here. We are not just looking to move numbers from one place to your tax return. We're looking to save you money. And if we discover things that you missed from prior years, we can actually go back and amend the last 3 federal years, last 4 California years."
Nice.
Further, there's still things that some people can do now in 2023 that would save them taxes for 2022. The bottom line is we're here for you. We want to talk to you about all these things, and we want to save you taxes. And there's so many things that we can do for you. And a lot of it stems from starting with the tax return, and then we'll go into tax planning and not only the tax return preparation, but the accounting and other things that may go along with it, like its pensions and HR and so on and so forth. We really want to be there for you. We want you to have all the advantages. Just talking about, should only the wealthy have this advantage? Well, the tax version of that is, should only the Fortune 500 have all the tax benefits? So it's the same thing. What we do is much like an equalizer, saying, well, okay, look, you can have a lot of these advantages, but you don't need somebody full-time in your office doing that. We'll give you what you need at the fraction of the cost of what they would be done elsewhere.
Yeah. And I was listening to the news this morning, Steve, and somebody, one of the anchors made this comment that people are saying, oh, don't go to, someone like yourself, do it yourself. And then you can write off all of these things and you'll be able to get away with it. But the IRS is bumping up the number of agents.
The minute a guy says you can get away with it, you want nothing to do with it.
Nope.
Exactly.
Whether you come to my firm or somebody else, the minute a guy says you can get away with it, you do not want anything to do with that guy. Basically, he's encouraging people to commit criminal tax fraud.
Exactly. And they were saying so many people are arrested for that every single year. So don't catch
Especially
yourself
now during the tax filing season.
Exactly. So Steve's going to keep you out of jail because he's going to do it the right way. He has the answers. His team puts in the work. They'll put the work in for your tax needs, your accounting, HR, ERC. He has all the answers. So call him. 888-TAX-DEAL, MoskowitzLLP.com. That's 888-TAX-DEAL or MoskowitzLLP.com.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Steve. Bye-bye. Yeah, so give him a call. Tell him the Nikki Medoro Show sent you. Okay, so I'm getting a lot of comments in here, Kim McCallister. Let me set up this question again. So Huntington Beach is being sued for the second time. The first time was in 2019. They lost. They're being sued again. They basically don't want to follow the state's
No, they're not cooperating.
They're not cooperating. They're also not abiding by the builder's remedy. They're basically ignoring all of the rules, and AG Bonta and Governor Newsom aren't having it. So now this begs the question, what is the solution? And Kim was raising the interesting point of, I would never expect to be able to live in an expensive place, let's just say like Huntington Beach or Atherton or whatever. And my question is, why? They have created this sort of zone now where you can live a great life, have all the property you want because you're at a certain income level. And then what happens to the rest of the state of California? If we allow that to happen, if that mentality is actually accepted by people like the governor and the attorney general, which is basically what you're saying. You're saying that places like Huntington Beach should be allowed to stay as they are, and the rest of California can pick up the slack.
Well, what happens if you live in a community that, and there's the expectation, right? I don't expect to be able to live in Beverly Hills or Atherton in this lifetime, and that's okay with me. I'm fine where I am, whatever. Like that, Why do
you think that is the way it is, though? Why do you think that Beverly Hills or Atherton is that way? Why do you think it's so expensive to live there?
Because there are mansions and property values increase because all the wealthy people move there. And it does, in effect, lock everyone else out. Let me read you the story that came over on the wire this morning. Apparently, there's a new effort underway to make housing a human right in California.
Sounds like that sounds normal to me.
California could become the first state to add that to the state constitution. If lawmakers approve a new bill, voters would get to make the final decision. The assemblyman behind this says if you don't have housing, everything else in your life suffers. But he points out it doesn't necessarily guarantee that the government would provide housing for free. So housing is a human right. But when you say housing is a human right, that may be an apartment in Bakersfield. You've got a roof over your head. You've got shelter from the storms, whatever. It might not be that you get to live in Beverly Hills.
Okay. And I agree with you. I think it's more along the lines of if it's a human right, then perhaps our focus, our efforts, our funding goes to making sure that people have that human right met. Right. And I do agree with it. If you don't have housing, it's the hierarchy of needs we learned a long time ago in school. You need housing, you need food. If without those basic things, nothing else seems to matter. A lot of you are asking where exactly this housing is supposed to go in Huntington Beach. And it all has to do with them restricting ADUs and these granny units and those sorts of things. They don't even want that. It's not as if they're, building all these apartment units and all those sorts of things. They don't even want that. So that's my problem. Now, it's kind of, I don't know if it's like this historical or existential type question where we have been convinced that because you might have a 90210 zip code, that you're here and everyone else is here. And don't expect to live there because we're rich and you're just not. And so because history has taught us that just means we can drive in, we can, waste parts of our life, lots of parts of our life to serve the people that live in these areas, because the people that live in these areas still want the lower income people to be there to serve them. They just don't want to live next to them. They don't want to provide that human right of housing to those that are still part of their community. Just, when the clock hits 5 o'clock or the restaurant or the bar is closed, go back to where you belong. That's the attitude I would describe some of these places having. And I don't think it's right. And I don't think we should continue to live in this kind of world they've created where we're supposed to accept that. Like, oh no, that's the rich area. Don't touch the rich people. They live on the hill. It's fine. Leave the hill alone. We'll just get the density and the health impacts and the congestion and the homelessness and everything else because we're the poor people. And so we'll just deal with that. Does that make sense? I mean, I know I'm being a little harsh with the point of view here, but that's basically what these rich people are saying. We have convinced you that this is our area because we're rich. And so you can't live here. You're poor. That's ridiculous, in my opinion. I mean, Nick says exclusivity is part of the appeal. Areas like Atherton wouldn't be as quote unquote nice if they were popular like other areas. I mean, just saying that blows my mind. It's people. God, if you bring all those people in, God, it just won't be as nice now. Yeah.
It won't.
There's a lot of people. Well, so what? Other places get to become worse? Because
I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm saying that seems to be the way it is. And I personally wouldn't have an expectation that, I'm going to be able to move to Tiburon or Belvedere here in the North Bay. It's not happening.
Because I will throughout history that you can't afford to live there.
I think some of these communities, is it Belvedere? Maybe Tiburon, they have cameras. There's only one way into town and one way out. And they know if you belong there or not. The police know, like, who's this person coming in? They know. And so yes, it's. I'm not saying it's okay. I'm just saying that's the exclusivity, right? That's the way it is in those areas. And I don't know if they're going to, build an affordable housing complex of apartments just to be equal. I think that when you're paying $20-30 million for a house, you expect your neighbor to be pretty far away and their house to look like yours. Yeah,
they are. I mean, if you have a $20 million house, you're not looking out your bedroom window and seeing a house right there. You know it and I know it. So what are they fighting, right? They have the space. They just don't want you to be in any other space that even if they don't own it, it's just not there. I don't know. I don't like it. I don't like it. It sounds like they're segregating us. There are historical aspects to how some of these city and county lines have been drawn over the years. I just feel like it's kind of like we're stuck in the matrix of just believe it. It's just the way it always is. And yet we have a major problem in this state, and it is a lack of housing. And somewhere is going to have to deal with it. Some cities are going to have to meet the demand. And so I feel like some of these rich areas are just like, let them deal with it. We'll just handle the lawsuits and we hope it will go away. But Newsom's not having it. He is not having it. And I think that Huntington Beach has put a huge bullseye on themselves. And it's going to be really interesting to see how this plays out and what kind of message it's going to give to other areas, possibly like Atherton or other areas that may be watching very closely to see if Huntington Beach gets away with it. And if they do, I mean, then there's just no teeth to any of our housing any of our housing laws. All right, you guys can continue commenting. Kim McCallister is going to do some news. I want to stay on some other big stories dealing with issues around the state of California. San Francisco District Attorney Brooke Jenkins has reversed her initial opinion and is now supporting no amendments. I'm kind of doing this backwards to the sanctuary city policy. Now, this all has to do with these, I believe it was 2 people that the federal government wanted to prosecute, but they told Jenkins that federal officials could arrest them, but only if they agreed to notify ICE if either suspect makes bail, which would violate the city's sanctuary city policy. So DA Jenkins has reversed it. I'll have some sound of why she's saying, because initially she was like, yeah, we could do that. And now she's not doing that anymore. An Alameda County family, a woman and her daughters, were initially offered $700,000 by the county of Alameda after being unlawfully detained. I'll tell you how much they actually got when they said, screw that, I'm taking this entire thing to court. Also coming up in the second part of the show, we do have Jefferson Graham. He's going to give us some photo tips and tricks to use with their phone. I have my moon photo all set and ready, Kim McCallister, to go because it's okay. It could probably be much better. So
it never looks like what it looks like. No,
yeah, exactly.
It never looks like what it looks like with your eye, does it?
Exactly. And I want it to look just as good as it should. So that's all coming up on the Nikki Medoro Show.
Now, from around the world to up your street, the Nikki Medoro Show presents News Czar Kim McCallister.
And this report sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz at 888 Tax Deal. Let's talk about this Mexican cartel kidnapping, because now Mexican drug cartel behind the kidnapping and murders of Americans is apologizing. That's right. The Gulf Cartel reportedly left a note saying the gunman who kidnapped 4 Americans and killed 2 of them is saying that they were not acting on orders from cartel leadership. They also said they turned over the gunman to Mexican police. The president is calling on House Speaker Kevin McCarthy to put forward a budget from Republicans. President Biden today speaking in Pennsylvania. Biden saying he's willing to meet with McCarthy anytime to compare their spending priorities and see what they can agree on. This comes as President Biden unveiled his own budget proposal and outlined his priorities on education, healthcare, and other issues at a union hall. Russia launched dozens of missiles during a 24-hour period in Ukraine, but not all of them got to where the Russians wanted them to go. That, according to the Ukraine military, which said 84 of those missiles were fired, 34 of them were intercepted. The majority of salaried workers, I should say, employed by General Motors in the United States are going to be offered some voluntary buyouts. That is what CEO Mary Barra wrote in a letter. Workers who have been with GM for 5 or more years are eligible. Those who are interested have 2 weeks to sign up for that buyout. And Americans looking to visit the United Kingdom in the future, they have to pay to do so. That is because folks will have to apply for what's called electronic travel authorization by the end of next year. How much that will cost hasn't exactly been confirmed. Here in the Bay Area, families in Watsonville already preparing to leave their homes, pack up, and get out at a moment's notice. The city issuing an evacuation warning last night for areas likely to flood as this latest atmospheric river moves in to the Bay Area and gets stronger today. It applies to the neighborhood east of East Lake Avenue along Corralitos Creek. A map is posted online with the affected areas highlighted in yellow. They include the communities of Bay Village and Pajaro Village in the Watsonville area. An historic space launch with ties to California being delayed. The rocket, 100 feet tall, 80% of it is made with 3D printed parts from a factory in Long Beach. That includes structural elements and engine pieces. It doesn't have any cargo. The rocket's supposed to blast off yesterday from Florida, but it got scrubbed. The mission has now been scheduled for Saturday. This report, sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz. For more than 30 years, Steve has put his tax knowledge to work for individuals, for businesses. If you've got a tax issue, even if you just want to see what it's like to work with Steve Moskowitz and whether he can save you some money on your taxes and how he does things, you call him at 888-TAX-DEAL and check him out online at moskowitzllp.com. I'm Kim McCallister on The Nikki Medoro Show.
Awesome. Thank you, Kim. Okay, so San Francisco District Attorney Brooke Jenkins. I think she, has been getting favorable reviews so far as being the DA, but I wonder if this is where things may turn for her. And I really don't know. You guys let me know in the comments because of this latest headline where she has reverse support to amend the sanctuary city policy. I'm going to play you a quick report from KTVU because it also includes her statement on what she'd like the feds to do. Here we go.
District Attorney announced she will not ask for exceptions to the city's sanctuary policy in order to extradite 2 suspects. Brooke Jenkins had asked the Board of Supervisors to vote to waive the policy so the 2 suspects can be prosecuted in San Francisco. Jenkins says one man is a suspect in a 2009 murder and the other has a warrant for several counts of child sexual abuse. However, in a press conference this afternoon, the DA said she listened to concerns about changes to the policy, which she said she supports.
We have watched in the past how hardworking and even tax-paying immigrants have been captured and arrested in the dead of night by immigration officials and deported, causing separated and broken families and complete destruction of productive lives.
Jenkins said she is now urging Homeland Security to respect the sanctuary policy and to extradite the 2 men, saying the victims deserve justice.
All right. So what do you think about that? Now, again, she says, I'm not asking, this is what the Jenkins has said to the feds. I'm not asking for them to vote on those ordinances anymore. Instead, at this time, I'm standing with the community in support of the sanctuary city policy and urging the federal government and the Department of Homeland Security to respect our policy, respect what we stand for here in San Francisco. Now, obviously, immigrant groups are praising this. Do you have a problem? And I know that there are some that disagree with the sanctuary city policy, but do you have a problem with, kind of making certain amendments to it? I know, what was it, last week? There was an idea to waive kind of the sanctuary city protection if it was dealing with fentanyl dealers, and I don't think that passed or went through, which I kind of disagree with. They make exemptions if you're a murderer or with certain crimes, so it's not 100%. Fentanyl dealers, I think, absolutely should be recognized and exempt from that protection from the sanctuary city policy. On the other hand, as I say that kind of erodes what the sanctuary city policy is for. It is not to protect criminals and not let the feds know who they are. It is so police can actually solve the crimes in our neighborhood by getting immigrant groups to talk. If they feel like they're always going to get deported because of their status, they are not going to talk to the cops.
Well, and I think
happening hard.
The kind of experience was offered at the beginning of all this, where, say, there's a woman who was attacked, right? Brutally raped, is afraid to call the police because she's an immigrant. So in this case, she doesn't even call and report the crime. It doesn't get the help that she needs because she's so afraid of being deported. Say you have evidence, you saw a murder happen, but you're afraid to call the police and say that because the minute they see you, they're going to be like, show us your papers, you're out, right? So it's those kind of things. It was never meant to protect people who are committing egregious crimes.
Right.
So I don't know how it morphed into this blanket policy of protecting people that, I mean, do you want these criminals here? I don't want them here. Do you want fentanyl dealers here? I don't want them here.
Exactly.
Goodbye.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And again, it's not so blanket. There are certain crimes in which you don't get that protection. Randy writes in, if you commit a felony or some number of misdemeanors, the sanctuary city protection should end. I don't fully disagree with that. If you're coming here and minding your own business and you see a crime happen and you want to talk to the cops, you're not involved in the crime or anything like that, there should be no questioning about your immigration status. But if you are caught in a crime, if those things are happening, then you should be deported. You should get that. I mean, at the same time, though, what Jenkins was saying, of course, is these people are going to go to prison, hopefully for the rest of their lives. She's like, I've looked at the case. I do believe that they will be convicted. And so they will be punished here. Is it still attracting a certain element, as, some former president likes to say? I don't agree, but we want crimes to be solved. And the only way that happens is if people within these communities talk and aren't worried about being detained or asked for their papers or anything like that. Speaking of like showing your documents, did you see? I've been following. I mean, I heard of this story. It happened a while ago about this Black family who was handcuffed in the back of a patrol car for more than an hour at a Castro Valley Starbucks. And the dash cam video, I'm going to play it for you. I'm going to play you a couple clips from it. And this, again, is thanks from KTVU. And it starts off with this officer approaching a car that has this woman and apparently, I think, one or two of her daughters inside. So this is how it starts off. And then I'll pause it. And then I'm going to jump to another part. So here we go. Can you hear it? Let's see.
I see a thumb.
Yeah, I don't know if the body cam. Oh, there we go. Okay. So here he is approaching the car. Just if nothing's happening. Okay. Little knock. Wave. And the woman starts to roll down her window.
Hi.
Hi.
How are you?
Fine.
What are you guys doing here?
Waiting to go to Starbucks in a second. Why? Is there a problem? We can't.
Uh-oh, you're muted for some reason.
Oh, okay, there we go. Yeah. I do think that this is a little weird, right? I mean, now again, I'm gonna do a little slow roll here. She's sitting in her car. There's nothing weird about it. She
is in a handicapped spot. So I will say that. Maybe he is looking to make sure that she's got the proper permit to park there. I don't know.
Spoiler alert, he never brings up the handicap spot.
Okay.
So let's just push that aside. But that could, if he would have mentioned it, maybe. He doesn't mention that. But again, now imagine you are this woman. She's going to give you a little bit more of her situation. Here we go.
Well, actually, let me tell you why I'm here. Okay. I've been having auto break-ins in this parking lot every morning around this time.
Thank you very much.
So I've been driving around here. Okay. And I noticed that you guys aren't doing nothing but hanging out.
Yeah, I just got in from Vegas.
So, okay. Well, this
morning. I've been driving all night.
Okay.
Takes 8 hours to get here.
Well, relax. That's my reason why I'm talking to you.
I'm here, so I'm not.
Okay.
And again, let me just pause it here. Did she seem like she wasn't relaxed? Did you hear how he was saying, relax? So, and I'm bringing this up because in my opinion, I feel like they're acting like it's escalating and she's literally just answering his questions.
She seems defensive.
Well, a cop on your door.
And she's of color. And I completely get why she's all of a sudden like, why what?
You coming me up?
See, my reaction to that officer might be completely different. It
would be absolutely,
and it would be, and that they call it being woke or whatever. But putting yourself in her situation and realizing that there's a history there, that immediately when you see an officer knocking on your window, my reaction is, "Oh, hey, officer," and her reaction is, "I have a little bit of fear in my, and I have to explain myself, and so that's why she's probably a little defensive." So yeah.
Okay, so let's just keep going a little bit more.
Okay.
Because it's got.
She's explaining her plates.
It's not a Nevada car.
No, I'm not Nevada.
Okay. You have your ID on you?
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Now here we go.
Okay, so wait a minute. Now, why are you asking for my ID? You just explained to me about the break-in.
Right.
But why did you explain to me about the my ID?
Right.
What's that about?
Yeah.
What did I do? What kind of crime did I commit?
What kind of crime did you commit?
Yeah, I'm asking you. You asked you for my ID.
Yeah, you have to give me your ID.
Why do I have to give you my ID?
No, she doesn't.
I don't have to give you my ID because I haven't did anything. You started talking about a break-in.
Okay.
I thanked you for informing me that.
Right.
I informed you that I'm resting because I'm about to go into Starbucks, right? I informed you I've been driving all night, right?
Well, Starbucks has been open for about 2 hours.
It's actually been open since 5. I checked my GPS. Okay.
Are you doing anything wrong?
No, I'm not.
So then what's the big deal?
I don't have to give you my ID. I'm not.
And she doesn't. She doesn't. You do not have to give, under the Fourth Amendment, your ID to an officer unless that officer has evidence that you have committed a crime, which she hasn't. So she's absolutely correct. So I'm going to jump ahead. I think it's around 6. Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to jump ahead because, again, remember,
what would you do? Would you have passed over your ID right then if he asked for it?
And I'm going to say this in all honesty, I don't think he would have ever asked.
Right. You're right.
Think she's saying, I thought you were coming up to me to warn me, like lock my doors. There's been car break-ins. He's treating her like, no, I think that you're breaking into cars.
Right.
See, she thought he was being nice. And then all of a sudden she's realizing, oh, wait a minute. You're taking my ID because you think I'm a criminal. Instead of like the initial reaction, like, oh, thanks for letting me know there's been car break-ins. Kim, that's the difference, right?
Yep.
And so this is how it escalates.
Yeah, you do.
No, I
Let's
don't.
go right here.
We haven't did anything. We haven't did anything.
He
We
wants
have
to
not did anything.
Let's start the car. Get out of the car.
Oh.
The window down. Roll the window down.
Get out of the car.
No, I'm rolling the window down.
Get out of the car.
No, I'm not. I'm rolling the window down.
Get out of the car.
I'm rolling the window down.
Get out of the car.
I see it's rolled down.
Get out of the car. Get out of the car.
No, I'm not.
Get out of the car.
I haven't did anything. I'll get out. Just don't pull on me. I'll get out.
All right, get out of the car.
Call the police.
Get out of the car.
Get somebody here.
She said,
Get out of the car.
The police, like the real police.
Get
Like,
out of the car.
not this
This is
idiot.
your last chance to get out of the car, or I'm placing you.
No, you're not placing me under arrest.
Or I'm
I haven't
placing
did
you under
anything.
arrest.
I'm calling someone.
Why?
You don't have to pull me. I'm getting out now.
Get out.
Stop it.
Get out.
Stop it. You're going to go. You're going to get in a lot of trouble. So
That's fine. Stand right here.
Yeah.
Stand right here. Put your hands behind your back. Put your hands behind your back.
Why?
You're being detained.
For what?
You're being detained.
For what?
Put your hand behind your back, or you're gonna go to jail.
No, I'm not going to jail. You're not. No.
Okay, so I mean, this goes on for about 15 minutes, which unfortunately I'm not going to play. It's worth seeing. Go to KTVU. The whole entire thing is right there. Isn't that so upsetting? Now, Kim McCallister, this cop.
I'm so scared for her. I'm scared for her.
They were stuck in the back of that car for more than an hour. More than an hour. So again, they were waiting at the Starbucks. They were taking the eldest daughters to a statistics test in Berkeley so she could transfer from community college to UCLA, where right now she's a senior. Again, he tried to approach. Deputies Stephen Holland and Monica Pope thought the woman seemed suspicious and demanded that the woman in the driver's seat give ID. Again, she does not have to. It is her right not to. She has committed no crime. They never told her what crime they had alleged she committed. They were placed in handcuffs for about 70 minutes. As they were being held, deputies searched the trunk of their car, unlawful search, right? In the end, they were never charged with any crime. Now, how much? Well, I already told you. So Alameda County offered this family $700,000.
No, not enough. Absolutely not enough.
This has been going on for years, by the way, like at least a few years. How much do you think they actually ended up getting once they sent it to trial?
5 million?
Higher.
15.
$8.25 million Alameda County has to pay because this officer had a power trip. Somebody said it. Absolute power trip.
Power trip. What was the reason? I mean, when she calls your bluff and says, I don't have to give you my ID, right? Officer probably right at that moment is feeling like, I have the power here. You don't get to tell me.
Yes.
I ask for your ID. You give it.
Yep.
That is it. And you have to do it because I told
you to.
And that's
not true.
It is not true. And she knew it. But why then, can the officer just say, I just want to make a note that I've talked to you, that I've cleared you of any problem here, and just check and make sure there are no warrants for stealing cars so I can be on my merry way, whatever it might be, as unfair as that is.
You can't do that.
Whatever it is, but he could have taken that a different way and actually explained to her why he needed to see her ID, right? Or why he wanted to. But what was the escalation for why the door was open and he was yanking her out?
What
happened there? Because she wouldn't give her ID, he decided that then she needed to be put in handcuffs? Unacceptable. Unacceptable and scary as hell.
Unacceptable. Yes, absolutely.
I mean, that is breaking every one of her civil rights. There is no reason for that. I'm angry for her. I mean, that moved me to tears. That is really scary. And that's the difference. That's what you said, Nikki. It wouldn't have happened to you, and it wouldn't have happened to me. And it shouldn't have happened to her.
It's never happened to me before. But you know what? It's probably happened to this woman, or she knows somebody that it's happened to.
Outrageous.
And that's the difference.
And that's why she was scared. And that's why she was defensive the minute he knocked on the window. That's why.
And you wonder why they're like, well, why didn't he just hand over the ID? Because you know where this is going. And that's what's, if this happened to, and I don't want to just make it a black and a white thing, but I can't imagine if a white woman, like Kim, I'm just going to use this as an example. If you were sitting in your car and a cop knocks and he's like, there's been break-ins, he would have been looking at you like, make sure you keep your purse close to you, ma'am.
Right.
Roll up those windows, lock the doors. To her, it was like, I need your ID because you look suspicious. What looks suspicious?
But if he had asked for my ID, I would have given it. Because, okay, I have no reason to not give you my ID. I don't mistrust you. There's the trust between that officer and I hasn't been eroded over time by a series of things that would happen that would leave me in handcuffs. I would never expect an officer to pull me from my car and put me in handcuffs.
Exactly.
She probably saw it coming.
Under the Fourth Amendment, Lori, citizens have the right to be free from unreasonable searches, which includes being asked for ID if an officer cannot articulate that a person has committed a crime. That is your right. Now, whether you exercise it or not, like Kim would be like, you know what? You asked for my ID. I'll give it to you. Right. That's your decision. But you don't have to.
By the way, I'm someone who does sit in parking lots for a long period of time. I'll sit there for an hour, 2 hours while I'm doing work on my phone, looking up stories for the show and waiting for a kid at an activity, they come out of play practice or whatever. It's fine. So I would be someone in a parking lot who the officer might go, she's been there for a while. Let's check on her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, it's sad but we need to realize that this is why things escalate in the way that they do. Now, imagine this happened to you once and how much that would stay with you. Now, what if it happens to you all the friggin' time? Wouldn't you be angry the next time a cop knocks on your door instantly?
Yep.
Just human nature. Like,
my feeling is like, what now? What next? Here it comes again. Yeah.
And natural. Most people feel that way. And yet, people of a certain color that have certain interactions with cops all of the time are supposed to just swallow it like it's the first time they've ever been in that situation. And that's the problem, is they're human beings. And I'd be pissed off if again I'm being hemmed up. For what, man? Right? Because I'm a black woman sitting in the car. And you're not going to believe that I'm taking my daughter to go to take a test at Berkeley because she's going to go to UCLA. You don't see me like that. And that's what sucks. It just really sucks. And I think, you know what? They deserve a friggin' penny for that.
You said it's been going on for a while. My question is, what happened to the officers involved in that?
Yeah, I saw somebody say that they were still or they were promoted. I was trying to find out.
Promoted?
Oh, yeah. Oh my God. An internal affairs investigation found that none of the deputies did anything wrong. Both Holland and Pope have since been promoted to sergeants. And there, my friends, is the problem.
What do you mean you did nothing wrong, but yet you gave the family $8 million?
Because it went to trial. They were trying. They had already spent, I think they said 3 or 4 years this has been going on. They'd already spent $1.5 million in courts and attorney's fees and everything. So offering them $700,000 wasn't even going to pay for that. So they're like, screw it, we're going to trial. Because they knew they did nothing wrong. They know their rights. They had a good attorney that said, nah, don't do it. But yeah, this is what needs to change. When we talk about police reform, police need to know that if someone says, no, I don't want to give you your ID, suck it up, buttercup. Let your ego go down a little bit. You don't have to have a power trip. Just be like, okay, I just want to let you know that, maybe say something like Kim if you need to save face, right? All right, well, we're just trying to make sure that, there's no issues or whatever, but you're right. Have a good day. Keep an eye on them if you want to. They go into Starbucks or what have you. If they don't break into the cars, then no harm, no foul. But it is a power trip among some officers that give other officers a bad name. And that's what sucks about the whole thing.
All of this, yes, everything you said, but also she didn't even look like a car thief or someone who would be breaking in.
She looked like, you know what I mean? Like
she looked like a mom. No, she looked like a mom.
Two in the car with 2 daughters.
She has her little flowered dress on. She's sitting there
exhausted, and she just drove 8 hours. She just doesn't, and it sucks. I can't even imagine what it must feel like to know that simply because of the skin I wear or the way I look, I will be treated as a suspicious person. And then then the world looks at you and says, "Oh, stop making it about race," when you know that that's what it's about. It sucks. And then trying to convince people that you're not crazy, right? That's so freaking frustrating.
I think that video is really important though, because for people who don't understand that experience or that having your back raised the minute an officer approaches you, or for people who just don't get it, you watch that and you see how unfair and unjust that is. And hopefully you're able to then put yourself in that position. Hopefully then you're able to start to be woke, understand what it's like to be someone else, and then you start to see the why. And so when people are protesting in the street when George Floyd gets killed, or they're upset because this happened to this woman, hopefully you approach it with a modicum of understanding about that, instead of just like, well, why didn't she give her ID over? Well, why this? Well, why that? Right? Yeah.
But Lori is the one that was asking, I thought you had to. And maybe a lot of people think like Lori do. They don't even understand that the rights that you're giving up simply because an officer is standing in front of you with a badge and a gun, right? You don't have to. Am I? And that's why you should say, am I being detained? What crime are you alleging that I've committed? And if there is not an answer, then you can walk away. You can totally do that. And it's not against the law. That is not like running from the cops. Like, am I being detained? Am I being charged with a crime? Are you accusing me of a crime? If the answer is no, or they don't have an answer to that, guess what? You are free to go. And I think that when you grow up, in certain communities that have unlawful interactions with police, you educate yourself on your rights. And that's what that woman did. She knew the minute she got out of the car, you're going to get in trouble. And she was right. Thank God. And thank God they went to trial. I really, really, I'm glad that they got it, and they deserve that and so much more. Okay, we're going to go to Kim's news because we have Jefferson Graham on tap. Make sure you subscribe to his show on YouTube, Photowalks TV. It starts right after my show today. So it's on Thursdays, but he's going to join us. He'll tease us what's coming up on his show, of course. He's also going to give us some tips and tricks because we pay too much damn money for these smartphones for them not to take the pictures the way we want them to take. So I have a moon picture. Kim, did you upload your moon shot, your moon bow or whatever? So we want to get, okay. Yeah. So we're going to get some tips and tricks from Jefferson Graham in just a moment. Also coming up in the second part of the show, I do want to touch on the storm watch. I want to touch on also details of what it really is going to look like for Walgreens doing business with California in light of their stance on those abortion pills. We have a whole lot of stories, and I probably won't be able to get to them all today, but we'll get to them eventually on the Nikki Medoro Show.
Now, from around the world to up your street, the Nikki Medoro Show presents News Czar Kim McCallister.
And this report sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz at 888 Tax Deal. Big news today is that President Biden put forward his budget plan while speaking to union workers in Philadelphia. The president said his proposed Medicare negotiation on drug prices will save $160 billion. The budget also includes capping the cost of insulin at $35 a month for all Americans. President Biden calling on Republicans to release their budget as well, saying he's ready now to meet with House Speaker Kevin McCarthy anytime. The budget includes a new billionaire tax, an increase on the tax for corporate stock buybacks, and an increase on the Medicare tax for those making more than $400,000 a year. The White House claiming the proposal would shrink the deficit by nearly $3 trillion over the next decade. Caltrans is pleading for drivers. Slow down during this bad weather on the way in. The agency tweeting some might want to avoid traveling, but if not, says everyone should have an emergency bag with blankets and flashlights. So, gotta have it. More than 4,000 crew members are spread out across California, nearly 60 in San Bernardino County, working to remove snow off the highways. They say it's enough to fill 3,800 Olympic-sized swimming pools. Yikes. California is ending its contract with Walgreens. Governor Gavin Newsom made good on his promise to cut ties after the pharmacy chain said it won't sell abortion pills in 20 GOP-led states where it's legal to sell that medication. The contract renewal set to take effect May 1st, leaving officials to explore other options. Governor Newsom says he won't stand by as corporations cave to extremists and cut off critical access to reproductive care and freedom.
Yeah, they're saying that this is really going to impact prisons and jails. I guess that's where a lot of this procurement for the good deals on prescription drugs, where they're primarily used. So on one hand, I like the consequence. On the other hand, it's particularly going to hurt a segment of our population. So they have to figure out another
place to get it. They're just not getting it from Walgreens.
Rite Aid or CVS or one of those places.
That's right.
There you go.
Exactamundo. The state of Hawaii could become the second state in the nation to outlaw the sale of fur products. California passed a law banning fur in 2019. The ban didn't take effect until January. A state Senate bill supported by animal rights activists is seeing growing support among lawmakers now. More than 50 individuals and groups have testified in support of this proposal. If passed, Hawaii would ban the sale, the display, and the distribution of animal fur products within the state. The bill passed out of the state Senate on Tuesday. It now heads to their House. The Food and Drug Administration is issuing new standards that could help detect breast cancer a little bit sooner. The FDA will require mammogram providers to inform their patients if they have dense breasts. Having dense breast tissue increases a woman's chances of getting breast cancer. And for women with dense breast tissue, the FDA recommends follow-up on a mammogram with an ultrasound after the fact. So that could help detect more breast cancer.
So, and just to let you women know, because, and I feel kind of dumb saying this, I had my first mammogram last year.
Okay.
Whenever I heard dense breasts, I always thought big breasts. Like that.
Oh, no.
You had to have big breasts to have dense breasts. Because I'm part of the itty bitty titty committee and I got dense breasts. So
no, it just means that one would think it's a good thing if you have dense breast tissue. It means not all loose and floppy over there.
Yeah,
right?
But the image, you can't see it, and maybe you can't feel the beginning of something. So
because everything's tight.
It's not have anything to do with the size. I honestly did not know that. So I'm just educating all of you people. I did not know that.
Yeah. And so, when you have the dense breast tissue, it's harder to see things. So that they're saying, have the mammogram afterward if they show that it's dense breast tissue, so that if there's something that would pop up, they see it there.
There you go.
Florida is set to become the top destination for United States spring breakers.
Oh,
it's true.
Fine, go there.
AAA, I know. Who wants to go there? Remember during the pandemic when people went there anyway, and there were all those pictures of
I get COVID. Yeah, exactly.
AAA says beach vacations are the most popular for those looking for a getaway this spring, and the Sunshine State is the #1 destination because of its beaches, its theme parks, its cruise ports. Hawaii, Las Vegas, New York City, San Francisco, and New Orleans come after Florida. Spring break in San Francisco, bring a coat. This report sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz. For more than 30 years, Steve has put his tax knowledge to work for individuals and for businesses. If you need help with your taxes, Steve Moskowitz has your back. 888-TAX-DEAL, MoskowitzLLP.com. I'm Kim McCallister on The Nikki Medoro Show.
Thank you for joining us on the second part of the Nikki Medoro Show, live every weekday starting at noon Pacific or anytime, because we're on YouTube, and that's a fabulous thing. And do you know who else is on YouTube? Our friend Jefferson Graham, whose YouTube show is ever closer to 10,000 subscribers. So go on there, Photowalks TV. Jefferson, thank you so much for coming back on the show.
Thrilled to be here. You know, I was just enjoying your little open there that we saw a second ago. Do you know that my hometown, where I live, is in that little montage?
Oh, I did not know that. My good friend Chip Franklin made that montage for me when I launched the show. So that's pretty cool.
So right before the Golden Gate Bridge is the Manhattan Beach Pier.
Oh, okay.
You can actually see behind me. Yeah.
Oh, well, look at that. Look fancy schmancy. Okay, so Jefferson Graham, your show, give people kind of a nuts and bolts of what they can expect when they tune into Photowalks TV, which starts right after this show at 2 o'clock on YouTube.
Yes, 2 o'clock today, 2 o'clock PT. This is the talk show version of Photowalks. On every Saturday, I have a new episode. It's a virtual photo walk. I take you with me to somewhere great and show you how to take better photos on your phone. The talk show is we talk about photo tips. I've got a really great guest today. Her name is Kim McCallister. Have you ever heard of her?
You guys tired of me yet?
Kim is going to show me all the photos that frustrate her, and we're going to talk about how to improve them pretty easily. And we have a few before and after, because I did a little work on some of them. And
nice.
we're going to take your questions. I've got a giveaway. I don't have it right here, but I've got a nice little video light for your phone, and won't cost you anything. All you have to do is tune in, and we're going to have some fun.
Sweet. Okay. So again, Photowalks TV, make sure that you like and subscribe his show and get him to 10,000 as soon as he can. Okay. So let's start off. You have a tip for us with our phones, and it has to do with sizing of our phones, or like the shape. I take a picture, it looks one way, I want it to look a different way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, for instance, you know, I'm a working photographer as well as a journalist. And so I've had clients that say, you know, I need just this size so it'll fit in the frame. It'll fit just perfectly. And I don't think that most people realize that in the iPhone, you can set the size before you take the picture. You can set the size after you take the picture. Did you know this?
No. Okay. So walk me through this.
You could do square, you could do 5x7, you could do 8x10, you can do 16:9. There's all sorts of aspect ratios that you can do. And one thing that they usually ask you when you start taking pictures on your phone is, do you want to shoot it square?
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to shoot it 16:9 like widescreen, like at the movies? Or do you want to shoot it 4:3 like leave me alone? Don't they know I'm on the air?
They want you bad.
Yeah.
I didn't know. So how do you choose those things? How does that work?
So the 16:9 square and 4:3 is in your menu, and you have to make a decision. It by default goes to 4:3. And I've always said, don't do square. Square is the old format that everybody liked to use on Instagram. Don't go square, because if you go square, you can't get that other stuff back. But it turns out you can. In the cropping tool, it's in when you edit a photo and you hit crop, at the top of the screen, there's a little yellow box. It's the third one from the right. And if you click on that, you can readjust it to your heart's content. And I think it's pretty cool.
Okay. So cropping tool. I'm on the cropping tool.
Yeah.
So I took a picture of myself just now. Okay.
Do you see the little third one from the right at the top? Do you see it?
So, okay, hold on. You're gonna walk me through this. So here's my phone. I just took this picture of myself. Okay.
Click edit.
Okay, so I'm clicking edit, and then I do what?
And then click the crop button at the bottom.
Right.
You know the crop button? Yeah.
Yeah, the one that has the square that kind of goes like this, right?
And now at the top of the screen, there's a bunch of different boxes.
Oh, I see it. Okay, so there's square, there's wallpaper, there's the original. I have freeform, square, and wallpaper. And then
You should have more than that. If you
Oh yeah,
scroll
9
over,
by
yes.
16, 4
5,
by 5.
4, 7, 5, 4, 3. Lots of fun stuff.
That's
Right now,
cool.
everyone's got their phone in their hand and they're like, oh, yeah, I see what she's talking about right now.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
get it.
So now what's the best one to use for social media, would you say? If I want to
Okay,
post
so-
on Instagram, which one should I use?
Well, I would crop it to square afterwards. I wouldn't tell you to go take a square photo unless you feel like it. There's a lot of places that really like the square format. YouTube, by the way, since we're all YouTubers, there's a community section. Do you ever use that?
No.
Okay, so
What
that's
is
where
that?
you can post a photo every day and it goes out to all your followers. It's in the community tab on your channel, but you can't do that. It is cropped. And so if you go, I usually go into Photoshop and I make it 10 by 10, which is a square, but you could take the photo and crop it to square, because otherwise they're just going to cut the sides out. So, and also, so I would recommend doing a lot of square for social. Looks really good. Also, a lot of news organizations are doing square photos on Instagram and they're putting headlines on them and say link in bio, go check us out.
Right. Oh, that is such a good tip, especially as more people, Jefferson, are doing what we're doing. They're on the YouTube and then they want to promote their shows on all the different social media feeds. And they want to, is it a difference if you're taking a video versus a picture? Can you change how a video looks?
No, video is done in 16:9.
Okay. So that's
unless
it.
in the camera vertically.
Okay. So that's it.
By the way, I enjoy your shorts. You're doing, you're doing TikTokers.
Yeah, I'm trying, my friend. It's a lot to do right before the show launches, but I'm trying to get them in every day to help promote the show, of course, and do those sort of things. But I'm learning about cropping.
Yeah, all YouTubers should do lots of shorts because YouTube promotes shorts big time. I usually do about 3 to 5 every day.
Oh, wow. Look at you. You're an overachiever. I need to get on.
15 seconds.
What's your
15-second clip? I mean, you know.
Yeah.
What's your favorite video editing software to edit those down?
Well, I shoot the short and I post it, and I use the editing tools on YouTube to do the edit. Unless it's more pronounced, then I'll do it in Final Cut because I use Final Cut Pro to edit all my programming.
All right. Okay. So we're going to show you 2 different pictures because you're going to help us out take better moon shots. Okay. Again, this is Jefferson Graham with Photowalks TV. Yeah. I'm going to start with mine. Where's my picture? Oh, here it is. Okay. So full disclosure, I was driving. The moon looked pretty amazing. And so I took this picture from my car. It's okay. But like, how do I get it to be sharper?
Well, first of all, we have to manage expectations. You're taking a picture with a cell phone camera. You don't have an expensive camera. You have a cell phone camera. You shouldn't be able to get great moonshots on a cell phone camera. You just shouldn't.
Really?
Why not? I want it all, Jefferson.
I mean, it seems like those billboards are really selling me that I could take really great close-up pictures.
If you wanted to do a really great moonshot, you get out of the car. We'll start there. Get out of the car.
That's the first thing I didn't do, but okay.
Yeah. Don't have the branches on all sides, and put the phone on a tripod and go into night mode. Night mode is the special feature that Apple has that lets you keep the shutter open for much longer, and then it'll be a cooler photo. But it's an automatic feature, and you get the most for your money when you put it on a tripod. And you know, Nikki, you can get a little tripod. Okay. It's automatic. It's automatic. You can't ask for it. It automatically goes there when it's dark. Now, Nikki, you can get a little tabletop tripod and have it in the car and just stick it on top of the roof the next time you want to run and get your shot.
Okay.
You can, by the way, go to night mode if you have a Google Pixel. It's a selection, not like an on the iPhone where it's automatic.
Yeah, and it's automatic on the iPhone, but you can tweak it and ask it to keep the shutter open for longer.
Yeah,
So I
that's
agree
what
with
John's
John.
also saying. Yeah, shutter speed is key. Okay, Kim, let's show your picture. Now, this was the moonbow, right?
The other night, it was after the rain, and we were driving downtown to dinner. So this also was a car picture. And I saw the moon, beautiful bright moon, with a rainbow, a circle rainbow around the moon, and then clouds on the outside, and the clouds were lit up with rainbow colors. When I took the picture, you couldn't see the rainbow around the moon. All you could see was Cloud City. I was also in a car at a stop sign, and my husband was like stopping for longer than he should have so I could catch the shot, but it didn't do it justice.
Well, first of all, I think you did really nicely considering that you took it on a cell phone camera. Secondly, as you will see, I've done some editing, and I think we got a pretty nice shot. I think it's stronger when you see the edit, which you'll have to tune into Photowalks TV. Sorry, Nikki, I don't have it right here.
I'll watch. I'll tune in. Don't worry about it.
Okay. But one of my main themes that I'll be talking about in the next hour is you guys have to edit, because you could really do some great things with your photos. And getting out of the car is the first step, and then doing some editing.
No lazy photography? Is that what you're trying to say?
You got to get out of the car, guys.
I mean, sometimes it's not easy to get out of the car. You're in traffic, right?
Yeah, but you'd like to see something.
You got to make it work.
So
we had oh, hey, this is nice.
A listener sent in this picture. This is from Lisa. She took it on her iPhone 13 in Brentwood, California, and she sent it in for you. She said, show this one to Jefferson. Yeah.
I think it's really nice. If we did a little edit on it, we could make the colors a little stronger, but I think it's really nice. And Brentwood's just down the street.
Yeah. Well, there you go. Now, somebody had asked, Lady Beatrice said, I remember when I was in Santa Cruz, there was a little rain, but also a triple rainbow that I tried to get a picture of, but it didn't come out well. Are there any tips and tricks for rainbows, or is it kind of the same thing as moon? Get out of the car.
Stand in position and don't be in a rush to leave. Those things, they come and they go. I've got great rainbow shots on my iPhone, but I did edit on them afterwards. And I was able to bring darken the skies, which really helped a lot to make the rainbow a little stronger.
Mm-hmm. I think people just want to instantly just take a photo and it look crystal clear and perfect, but you keep saying edit. Now, and I think I asked you this last time, do you have any special editing app, or is it just within the iPhone photo app?
3. Okay. I start with Apple Photos on the phone.
Okay.
And if I want to go to the next level, I go to Adobe Lightroom Mobile, which is free. The other app that I really like a lot is called Snapseed. It's owned by Google. Those are the 3 go-to apps. If you ask any photographer what their favorite apps are, they tend to be those 3. There's all these other apps, but we don't really use them because you can pretty much do everything you want to in these apps. When I show stuff on social media, every photo has been edited first.
Right. So that's Adobe Lightroom Mobile and Snapseed. Is that what it is?
Snapseed. Yes.
Okay. There you go, people.
Can you tell if a photo's been edited? Is it easy for you when you look at it to go, that's they did something to it?
Right.
Scroll through Instagram.
Because I got this picture from a listener earlier on the Mark Thompson show. I'll show it to you. It's a picture of Tahoe.
That's pretty.
Snowy Tahoe, beautiful lake, the clouds, storm clouds rolling in.
Looks like a
and I was ridiculed because the guys over there thought it was fake and thought it was edited. I looked at it and thought that could absolutely be real.
No, it's edited. The sky is edited. The lake is edited. It's because it doesn't look like that. I know what clouds look like when you do editing on it. It's like really easy. You just click a button and then you drag things around. And in Lightroom, you can selectively edit. In Photoshop now, there's a button in there on the desktop version. It's called Replace Sky. And you just click a button and they give you different skies. And that one may be one of those.
Again, those apps that you want to use, Adobe Lightroom Mobile and Snapseed, if you want to take it up a level. do some people just edit too much though? I always feel like
Yes.
with filters and all these colors, do you have a favorite filter, Jefferson? Or do you
I
just
don't
like
use
to
the
edit?
filters. I don't use
the
the. I don't
filters.
like the filters. I use the tools in these editing apps. I use sliders. There are sliders in the app, as in the Apple Photos app. There's the blacks and there's contrast, and you just try to go as far as you can without going overboard.
Yeah, that's always people's problem is they go a little too overboard.
Why is she orange? The editing software. Yeah.
It's sepia, Kim. It's sepia. All right, Jefferson Graham, Photowalks TV. His show starts in a little more than a half an hour right here on YouTube. Go check it out. Please make sure that you subscribe. We will talk to you next week with more smartphone photo tips and tricks. Jefferson Graham, thanks so much. Bye. Yeah, he's great. I mean, did you ever want to be a photographer? Don't you think that everybody has like that dream where you could just pick up a camera and take these awesome shots? And then I can't even get a decent one with my stupid smartphone.
Oh, look at me. I'm seeing the magic.
Right?
Yeah.
I wish I was that. My niece actually is getting into photography.
Oh, cool.
And so, so she's I think like a freshman in college, that age. And so she's trying to get into photography. And so she's getting her Instagram page and everything set up. But you learn to take photos. This has to be an amazing career. So again, Jefferson Graham, Photowalks TV, those two apps, if you want to take your photos a step further, Adobe Lightroom Mobile and Snapseed. Okay, so we have time to do another story, and let's touch a bit on the fact that I want photos and I want videos of people's storm experience. So is it raining where you are, Miss McCallister?
I don't know. I haven't looked outside in about 2 hours, and I haven't heard it.
I haven't heard anything either.
I know it was supposed to, and it was raining last night, so.
I didn't get any rain last night. I haven't gotten anything down here. I'm waiting. Actually, we're getting a new washing machine.
Yay!
This is the house we moved into. It had a broken one, so I've been waiting for it. And I'm like, please get it in, because as I'm staying inside during this storm, I can get some laundry done because I've been going to the laundromat every 5 seconds. So right now it says it's raining in San Jose. That's my fish tank you might hear in the background. I don't hear any rain going on out there. But yeah, they're saying it's going to be raining constantly. State of emergency declaration has been made. But did you see this? The snow and everything that we've been getting from all over California? Well, you may not think of the animals, but think of the animals. So did you hear that Cal Fire is now dropping hay to cows that are stranded in all the snow that we've been getting? They're dying off. I think they're saying like it could be at least 10, if not more percent of some ranchers are saying their cattle are dying because they're starving to death. So I don't know if you can see it. See those little cows down there?
Yeah.
You see them? They're stuck. They down trees. They can't get to food. They can't get to shelter. And so they're out in the elements. And so Cal Fire is dropping hay for these cows to eat. Now, again, they don't know.
Can they handle the snow? Like, is it too chilly for them, or are they just hungry?
I mean, I think that it's probably both, but right now they really want to be able to eat food. They say multiple cows. This is up in Humboldt County. Humboldt County Sheriff William Hansel says multiple cows have been dying off due to the weather and the inability for ranchers to feed the cattle. So they called on Cal Fire. The ranchers aren't able to get through because the roads are impassable. And so then the cows, some of them giving birth, they're calving right now. They're starving. And yeah, I know. And so they're dropping all this hay. Like they load up all those barrels of hay and they're just dropping it for the cows.
That's nice.
To be able to eat. I mean, yeah, it's nice, but you're really hoping that it's going to be enough, because I don't know. They're saying, I mean, the amount of rain and snow that we're expecting to get. Drew Tuma from ABC7 had the drought map. This is from last week. So this is California, obviously. There's no place with extreme drought last week, but like take a look at this. This was from today. So look at all that's opened up.
Oh my.
It's not even in the drought, which is good. I mean, we keep talking about how much rain we need.
Yeah.
And I am worried. I mean, the mudslides, in my neck of the woods, Santa Cruz and Boulder Creek and all those areas, still fire scarred, mudslides. The ground just has not been able to absorb all of this. And now, of course, we have another storm with this atmospheric river moving in right now. And I think the brunt of it's going to happen today, overnight and into Friday, but lingering showers and then another storm possibly for next week. So please send me some of your storm pictures and your storm videos, and we'll post them tomorrow morning on the show. I did just get an email, a little bit of a programming note, even though it's leading up to the Oscars. I know he's going to be completely bummed, but we do not have Tim Sika tomorrow. He's not going to be able to make it in. He has a personal issue. So no Tim Sika tomorrow, but we will be talking the Oscars because did you see that the Oscars will no longer, at least this time, they are not going to have a red carpet this year. No red carpet. Here's what it's going to be. They're calling it champagne.
Yeah.
Or beige. I don't know if it's as sexy as red. I guess they're going to have some red features inside. But yeah, they're trying to shake things up. I don't know about champagne.
Here's the problem with a champagne carpet. It's going to get really dirty really fast.
Yeah, it's going to be gross. And if it's, and this is down in LA, right? So it's going to be stormy, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Muddy ass feet. It's going to be stomping on that champagne carpet.
I mean, red, you get red a little wet or a little muddy, and it doesn't show that much.
Right, you're hoping.
A champagne carpet is going to show every watermark. That is whoever's idea this was needs to be out of the Oscars. You're done.
Exactly. Absolutely done. Not a good idea. I mean, I understand maybe changing. I was thinking gold to go with the statue, right? I mean, if we're going to do something like that, but no, they're going for champagne. And of course, we'll see who wins. Are you going to watch the Oscars? Is that something that you often?
I do watch the Oscars.
Yeah.
I enjoy the show. I mean, sometimes it gets a little long-winded.
Yeah.
I used to like to, and I won't be able to do it because this year I don't. I have the dish and I let it go.
Right.
I cut my cable cord. And so I used to like to pause it and watch it a little bit late so that then I could fast forward through all the commercials.
Right.
And I won't be able to do that yet. No. Yeah.
I will tell you that's what I dislike the most about Hulu plus live TV is like on some shows, like for instance, when I watch The Bachelor, because I pay for no ads, I pay a couple bucks because I don't like the ads, but it's not on every show. But I don't have to watch any ads when I watch The Bachelor. Thank God.
I was watching Survivor last night, episode 2, and no spots.
Is there a new
commercials.
Is there a new season of Survivor right now?
There is, yeah.
Shoot, I am behind this is the difficulty. Now that I don't have the TV as I have to be purposeful and I'm missing all of the ads to promote the new season. Oh my God. Well, I'm excited now. Now I have something to binge watch as I wait for
But it's on Peacock and there's no commercials. So I like that part of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And even though I won't be able to pause the Oscars and I might have to sit through some commercials, I still am glad that I'm saving that money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Okay, fine. Karen, it's the Academy Awards where they present the Oscars. Okay, you're correct. I'll give it to you. The whole event is tented. No one's going to get wet. Well, I guess, don't they do the whole walking by the people that are cheering and yelling? I mean,
don't you get out of your limo and you then approach the carpet?
They have the little minions with the umbrella, I'm sure.
Yeah, okay.
Mo, keep the Stanley steamer on standby. There you go. Exactly. Cheryl likes The Voice. You're sick of The Bachelor. Yeah, the season sucks. The only reason why I watch it, honestly, is because my friend Jen, who came on the show to talk about her daughter, we watch it. That's our show that we kind of text back and forth and watch together. And so when I don't watch it, we kind of miss that interaction. So I keep it going because it's something that we do.
By the way, did you talk to her after the show the other day and did she find anything helpful or was it all just like, I've already thought of all this?
No, I think that she had it helpful. I was texting her back and forth. I haven't kind of gotten an update. She was going to sit down. she was hoping to. This was the last thing she told me, is that she was hoping to sit down with her family and watch the whole episode and then the comments afterwards together as a family. I hope that it got through to her daughters. I know that, because one of her daughters, not the daughter that she was talking about, but the younger one, is my goddaughter. And then our other best friend, her oldest daughter, that's her goddaughter. So we're invested in these children. We love these kids, and we want them to do well. She did want me to say, and I included it in the show notes when I kind of pulled the interview, her daughter, the one that's been messing around because we were having the conversation, does extremely well in school, might graduate early. So It's not as if she's not doing well in school, but she's just, that doesn't, just because you're doing well in school,
doesn't mean you don't have an attitude.
Doesn't mean you have an attitude and that you're not being respectful. So
yeah,
hopefully she gets it together, but I'll have an update. I'm going to give them some time to kind of figure that out.
Ever since that interview though with her, I find myself cracking down on things that I wouldn't normally, because I'm like, I'm going to stop that right where it starts. So if there's a disrespectful attitude or tone, and Julia's looking at me like, whoa, are you in a bad mood or what? But I'm like, there will be none of that. You will not speak to me in such a manner. And all she said was like something sarcastic. And I'm like,
right. Yeah. Nope. Well, that's the slippery slope to disrespect.
We're not even going down that road.
Well, I mean, and I've used it, and I like that you mentioned that because I've used it because my daughter is friends with obviously my best friend's daughter. They talk,
right?
And I had that conversation. You always look for inroads to have important conversations with your children, and so I did, and my daughter knows. Don't even try it. Don't even try it. But again, I also don't have a 17-year-old. I don't have a 17-year-old that has wheels. I have not crossed that bridge. I'm not even at that bridge yet. I hope that I never have to cross a similar bridge. But again, these conversations definitely need to happen. And stars with a great reminder to please click that thumbs up button. Please, please, please. It really helps us out. I love it. The super chat is also live. If you want to throw Kim McCallister some dollars during the chat, we'll read your comments as well. I haven't done much of this during the show. Our Patreon, of course, is up and running. Please consider donating to our Patreon, and so many of you do. Lori Above the Bar gives us the donations from the Medoro Mule that you can get at the Red Jack Saloon. So different ways that people can donate, and our Patreon is one of our major sources of income. So just go to the NikkiMedoroShow.com and you can become a Medorable and donate whatever amount you can afford. And if you can afford less this month and more next month, we really do appreciate it. Absolutely. And of course, the PayPal is up and running, the NikkiMedoroShow@gmail.com. And that is the same email that you can use if you're up for a sponsorship opportunity. We have a couple of irons in the fire. We want to make sure that it is financially feasible for both of us. So if you have a business that you want to promote, you want to work with the Nikki Medoro Show to get your brand out there or whatever, let's talk. And so just send me an email, the NikkiMedoroShow@gmail.com. And you can also pick up some merch at the NikkiMedoroShop.com as well. Okay, we'll do some news with Kim McCallister, and then we'll be back with some more fun stuff. I don't know what we're going to talk about, but we'll figure something out.
We'll figure it out.
We'll do it all. There we go.
Now, from around the world to up your street, the Nikki Medoro Show presents News Czar Kim McCallister.
And this report sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz at 888 Tax Deal. Let's go right to President Biden, because he is meeting with the prime ministers of Great Britain and Australia in San Diego on Monday. British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak and Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese will meet with President Biden to go over security issues in the Pacific, especially with China. The three leaders set to discuss the construction of nuclear-powered submarines as well. President Biden will then hold a fundraiser in Rancho Santa Fe. It is the president's second trip to the San Diego area while in office. Republican Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene, got a picture of her yelling. There she is. She is organizing a trip for House members to a Washington, D.C. jail where Capitol riot defendants are being held. Maryland Democrat Jamie Raskin calling the visit a GOP effort to lionize the violent attempt to overthrow the 2020 presidential election. The biggest nuclear power plant in Europe is without power today after Russian missile strikes. Here it is right here. I don't know if I'm going to be able to pronounce the name of it. The Ukraine's nuclear energy agency says the last link between Zaporizhzhia plant and the nation's power grid has been severed. The plant Russian forces took over last year is running on diesel generators that can supply power for 10 days. A Republican-led House panel investigating the origin of COVID is holding its first hearing, and that is happening. Ohio Congressman Brad Wenstrup saying there is debate over whether the virus emerged naturally or leaked from a lab in China. He said there's still no smoking gun 3 years after the start of the pandemic. Heavy snow is expected again today from the West Coast to the Midwest. The heaviest snowfall forecast for Oregon and here in Northern California, where a winter storm warning is in effect. Some areas likely to see up to 6 feet of snow, winds gusting up to 80 miles per hour as well. Alec Baldwin scheduled to appear virtually for a status hearing later today related to the death of cinematographer Helena Hutchins on the set of the movie Rust. Baldwin is accused of firing a prop gun loaded with live rounds and killing Hutchins on the movie set in 2021. The actor is charged with involuntary manslaughter because of that. This is a disturbing case. A Texas man is under arrest for what police describe as a gruesome attack. I'd say so. Sean Goodman allegedly stabbed his victim and then removed an organ. The Bell County Sheriff's Department wouldn't say which organ was removed from the deceased. The victim had to be airlifted to the hospital in Temple between Waco and Austin. A 3-week manhunt ended this week when the 27-year-old was taken into custody by a SWAT team. A bond has been set at $150,000. I shouldn't say the deceased because it doesn't say that the person died. It just says they were stabbed and had an organ removed. I would think that that's a done deal, but they were taken to the hospital and it doesn't say whether that victim lived or not. World Wrestling Entertainment reportedly in talks with state regulators to legalize betting on scripted wrestling matches. Wait a minute, we already know how this is going to turn out, right? CNBC said Wednesday the WWE is talking to regulators in Michigan and Colorado, in addition to working with the Ernst & Young accounting firm to make sure the results of each match are not leaked to the public so that people can bet on it. The Colorado Division of Gaming says as of now, it's not considering allowing wagers on WWE matches. And lastly, to the Oscars, or the Academy Awards, whatever you want to call it. Not all of the nominees will win an Oscar this Sunday. The top 26, though, will each get a gift bag full of goodies worth over $125,000. Here's what's in the swag bag this year. Right, you ready? 60 items, including silk pillowcases.
I like that.
Edible massage oil.
Ew, no.
Edible massage oil? No?
No, I'm not licking massage oil off of you. That's just, no, sorry.
You might want to. Right now, your husband's like, yeah. A coupon for free liposuction. Welcome to Hollywood.
Okay.
Some of the larger gifts include a 3-night stay for 8 people at an Italian lighthouse, 1 square meter of land in Queensland, Australia.
Why do they give rich people all of these things? Like they need it, right? Like, oh, that's right, because they don't have a mansion that they already live in. It's because they can't afford it. Whatever.
Yeah. 1 square meter of land in Queensland, Australia. That's cool. I'm trying to picture how big 1 square meter is and what do you do with that? You all get together, all the superstars, and
I don't know.
I don't know. This report, as I wish for a silk pillowcase, is sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz. For more than 30 years, Steve has put his tax knowledge to work for individuals and businesses. If you need help with your taxes, call Steve Moskowitz. LLP.com on the internet. I'm Kim McCallister on the Nikki Medoro Show.
Yeah, AAA tax deal. MoskowitzLLP.com is the website. Give Steve a call. He's always been a huge supporter of the show. Actually, our founding sponsor. But again, the Nikki Medoro Show at gmail.com. If you would like to sponsor a segment, an entire show, an entire month, email me and we'll go over some details.
Sponsor a newscast.
Yeah.
Bring it on.
We are.
I'll even put your business picture in there. I'll make it all special.
Yeah, we do. We definitely want to do stuff like that and help promote, especially businesses here in the Bay Area that need some love. Okay, Kim. So apparently, do you remember this study that would always come out and said that there is a ceiling on how much money people can make before it doesn't really impact their happiness? You've seen this study,
No.
right? So it's kind of like, okay, yeah, it might seem like money buys happiness, but really there's an often touted study that finds happiness plateaus around, well, if it's adjusted for inflation, it's about $103,000. But usually the number before inflation is about $75,000. Well, now there's a new study that goes with what everybody else really thinks, which is the more money you make, the happier you are. So this study was published in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences. And these two researchers surveyed about 34,000 U.S. adults with household incomes of at least $10,000. So $10,000, not a lot of money. And participants logged their happiness levels when prompted randomly throughout the day. And they found that, yep, happiness definitely goes up beyond $100,000 a year, up to $500,000 a year. How much money do you think that you would have to make before you're like, I don't need to make any more money to be happy?
Well, it depends on, money makes things easier.
Yes.
But it doesn't make things happier.
More money, more problems. That's what they also say, right?
I look back into some of the days when I didn't have a lot of money. Not like I have a lot now either. But like, well,
when you were just starting out.
Let's go back into my childhood.
Okay.
When I was living with my mother and sister, and my mom was a teacher. So there's not a lot of money to go around.
Right.
And we looked forward to payday because payday meant we got to order out we got to order pizza.
Oh,
payday was pizza day,
Okay.
And so it was a big deal. And we were so excited over it all. And I feel like you appreciate things more.
Yeah.
My kids don't have to, there's no like day when we get something special like that. It's not the same kind of thing. So I don't know. I mean, I just think we can't equate money with happiness, but how much would I need so that I could just spend without worry and not have to really freak out over how much is it going to cost to buy the school yearbook or, do I have enough to make sure that my kids have a winter jacket that's fancy, whatever, and works for them? I would say maybe $350 a year.
That's higher than I was going to say. I was going to say
Really?
2. I was going to say 200. My happiness level just goes with, I don't want to think about it.
Right.
That's it. I don't.
That's
not a
don't
dollar
think
amount.
about it money.
I just don't want to think about money. If I need something, I could buy it. If my kids need something, I could buy it. I don't need the house in the Hollywood Hills like that billionaire bought. I don't need that. I just don't want to think about money at all. Whatever number that is for whatever's happening in my life.
I'm not there. I'm still worrying about it. Right. Yeah.
I mean, talk about spending money. So my daughter is in cheerleading, and you'll feel me on this, Kim, because kids are friggin' expensive. I mean, if you want to know what's bleeding me dry, it's the things that I birthed, right? And so my daughter's in cheerleading, and she has an amazing opportunity. Her cheerleading squad gets to perform at the halftime show for an upcoming Warriors game.
That's amazing. I'm so excited right now.
$500 though, I have to spend to buy tickets to the war, because it's not like we get free tickets. God, why would we get free tickets? And it's not like they even get a free ticket. They still have to buy their ticket.
You don't have to go. Watch it on TV.
I can't not go. I mean, how
could
many
not go.
I could not.
You could absolutely not go.
I could absolutely not. Well, someone needs.
I guarantee you, not every single parent on that squad is going.
No, but somebody's going.
Oh, one person at least has to.
Has to go. And then I got to buy her a ticket. And then I got to buy at least one other ticket. Yeah. $500. $500. And I was like, now it reminds me, my daughter was also a cheerleader for the 49ers. She did the halftime show for the 49ers. And that was worth it to me because I'm a huge Niner fan. I'm not that into basketball, but alas, we are going, and we're going to make it an experience. But yeah, that hurts. That hurts, especially right now.
Every time Julia does a play at the local a local community theater, I have to pony up $650.
Ooh, wow.
Now then, fast forward to summer when there's a month-long summer camp and I've got to pay for both kids to do it. That's 650 times 2.
Wow. That's
right.
a lot of money.
Now, I mean, you can look at it like that, just the expenditure, or you can look at it like, okay, well, that's 2 months where you're getting 5 hours of childcare a day. Plus they're getting out of the house. Their face isn't in a screen. There's all kinds of reasons that, that's a great way to spend money, but it's expensive when you are the bottom line. Do I want her to be in the play and have a great experience and build confidence and build her skills? Of course I do. Would it be nice not to have to worry about it? To be able to just fork over the money and be like, thank you, community theater, you're doing a great job. Or instead, I'm looking at, okay, how can I break this up into installments so that I give you this much this month?
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So I get not wanting to have to worry about money, but I don't know. Again, I also look at times in my life where money wasn't abundant and there was still some really happy times.
Oh, of course. And you make it work. You live with the money that you have. I mean, that's the problem. People make more money and then they just spend more money, right? And so that's when you run into problems. Calvin, my daughter's 14. She just turned 14. So I don't believe she can work at 14. I think you have to be 15, right, to get your permit. I look into it, get her butt to work. Babysitting and things like that. She needs to learn to make some more money. I was literally just talking to my son about this last night. I'm like, he wants money. I'm like, get a side hustle, go mow lawns or something. I don't know, man. Like, you can make money. He's like, mow lawns, really? And I'm like, yeah. And I was like, you can mow lawns. I'm like, you can go pick up dog poop. Nobody wants to pick up dog poop. Go walk. There's so many dogs in our neighborhood. Go hand out flyers like, hey, I'll come by once a week. Even whatever you want, make some money that way. So I'm trying to instill, start covering some of your own stuff, because mom and dad aren't going to be able to do it all the time. We're just not going to be able to do it. On the note of making money, did you see what Bernie Sanders wants to do? And while I am a huge support of this idea, when I was looking at the numbers, it kind of surprised me. So here he is. Bernie always looks so freaking angry all the time. But, he's talking about canceling student debt and, we are the richest country in the world and we should be able to afford all of these things. Well, he's come up with this bill that would make the minimum pay for public school teachers in the United States $600,000 a year. It's called the Pay Teachers Act. It's co-sponsored by Elizabeth Warren, Ed Markey, and it would provide states with federal funds to establish minimum teacher salaries of at least $60,000 a year. It would also triple the funding of the Title I-A program, which provides funding to schools with a high percentage of students that come from low-income households. It would triple rural education programs. It would prop up programs to diversify the workforce. And he's citing, of course, the number of teachers who are quitting, who can't afford to live where they teach and all those sorts of things. But then I'm like, okay, well, what does an average teacher make? Because I know in California, the average pay for a teacher in California is about $86,000 a year. Okay. Which sounds like a lot of money, but we know not enough money, right? But the average in 2021, the average K through 12 public school teacher nationwide was paid $65,090 a year. The average teacher pay was highest in New York at $87,738, followed by Massachusetts and California.
I would say it's important to note that these large salaries are at the high end of teacher scale. So you probably start at $37,000 a year. 10 years in, you might be at 50. And by the time you retire, you've only for the last couple of years made $87,000. And that's what your pension is based off. So that's nice. But for most of your career, you haven't made that.
I'm sorry. Did I say $660,000 a year? 60,
okay.
60, not 600. Jesus, I'd become a teacher right now. But I think that's also the point, right? If you pay people a lot, then people want to get into the profession and then you get the cream of the crop. When you don't pay people enough, people need to do it for the love of the job, which many teachers do. But then you also don't have a lot of people to choose from, right? Or they get burnt out really quickly. So a lot of interesting statistics here. Mississippi, Florida, and South Dakota have the lowest. Teachers made $50,000 on average. Let's see, Arizona, the average pay is $54,700. Florida, that's Arizona. Florida is 55.2. Massachusetts, again, one of the highest at 78, and then California and elsewhere. But when compared to other jobs, look at this. In California, for instance, $85,892 for a teacher at the top end, of course, like Kim mentioned. Registered nurse, $124,000. An accountant, auditor, almost $93,000. Software developer, as we know, $146,000. If you're a graphic designer, about $70,000. And all these people learned how to do what they do because they had a teacher in their life. And we need to value these men and women so much more. But I don't think the only critique I have with Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren's bill, too low. I think that it should not be a blanket number like $60,000 because that's a lot of money in some places and not a lot of money in other places. Right. It should be based on the cost of living. A lot of these things should be based on the cost of living. What affordable housing is and how it kind of triggers certain things from the federal government should be based on the cost of living of the state in which it's being implemented. Because if it's not, some people are living high off the hog and other people are still scraping by. Right. And it's not the same. It's just not the same. So I think it's a good start. But even in Vermont, it's like $65,000 a year. So I don't know where he's getting this $60,000 number from, but it's a start. Lori says, our district just went to starting around $48,000. I teach in East Palo Alto. We were the lowest in the Bay Area. Adjoining districts, $15,000 to $25,000 higher. The cap was $89,000 since 2021, or I think $106,000. Yeah, it's also if you're single, the money goes a lot farther. If you're married, it goes a lot farther because you hopefully would have another income if that person works as well. So all these things have to be factored into the whole decision about paying. But teachers, it's laughable that it's just a common refrain that teachers are underpaid, and we still haven't done anything about it.
But then, put an initiative on the ballot to pay teachers more, and it'll probably get voted down. People will say, we already pay high enough taxes. We already pay high enough property taxes. Nope. Make do with what we're giving you. So then what has to get cut in order for some people to make more money? Do I think teachers need to make more money? Absolutely. It means we need to reset our priorities. But when we reset our priorities, then what do we cut so that we can give them more?
Yeah. Well, I would cut from the top first, right? But it always seems that you cut from the bottom. And it's unfortunate. You know what I mean? It's you could cut a little from the top and the top people aren't hurting, right? But it doesn't ever seem to go that way because the top people obviously don't want to lose any of their money. Yeah. But when we talk about teaching, it just seems like the amount of crap that they have to put up with. I mean, we've been following that story at Santa Rosa, where the kid was stabbed to death, and all of the meetings that they're having, and kids are coming to school with guns and knives. And there was a school board meeting and they're like, we don't know if these kids are armed.
There was another kid with a knife in Santa Rosa just a couple days ago that, he brought allegedly brought a big knife to school. It was found in the lining of his backpack.
Yeah. And you don't know why that kid brought it. He could be bringing it because he's scared, right? He could be bringing it because he knows half the people in his class are armed. If I would not feel good about it. I mean, I don't know in that particular case, but these are the realities that teachers are dealing with at school.
By the way, speaking of that stabbing in Santa Rosa at Montgomery High School, there have been protests at Petaluma City Schools and at schools all over the school district where kids are walking out of class along with administrators and teachers saying we don't feel safe, and they're having sit-ins and walk-ins. And yesterday at Petaluma High School and Casa Grande High School, the two big public high schools here in Petaluma, the reporters came from the local paper and they were asked to leave. And so now there's a big hoopla where hoop-de-doo, I should say, why is the school district not allowing journalists to cover this? Why are you afraid of, is that, so they're saying, it was unsafe and we, didn't want them.
They don't want the attention, obviously.
They don't want the attention that kids are walking out because you can't keep the children safe on campus. I don't fault the school district for not being able to keep the children safe on campus. What are they supposed to do? I mean, short of installing metal detectors, kid could put anything in their backpack. How do you know?
Yeah. So. And I know that a lot of the community resource officers, and we talked about this a lot on KGO Station X, you don't want the schools to turn into like jails. Some kids don't have good interactions with officers. I think that non-uniformed, I always say bring parents on if you can. I worked with Project Cornerstone, and being on campus and seeing these kids and getting to know these kids is, I feel, an effective way of doing it. But yeah, we need to kind of find a balance there where kids feel safe, but not putting all our money towards kind of a policing view, more of a support system, more of a trust. Like, I am part of your school community, just like a teacher or anybody else. I am someone you can come to, even if you might get into trouble or there might be a fight. Even if I break it up, you're not, one, going to attack me, and two, I'm not going to slam you to the ground. There has to be a reimagining of the relations between not only just police officers, but community resource officers and counselors. And there just needs to be more support for kids and teachers at school, because otherwise, going back to teacher pay, they're not being paid hell enough to put up with this nonsense every single day. So I'm supposed to teach kids with changing curriculum because somebody gets a hair up their ass and a new, education secretary is put in place who has wild ideas of how I'm supposed to teach classrooms. You're not going to pay me enough. I'm supposed to put my body in front of a bullet, all of these things. And still you're going to debate whether $60K is enough to pay me. It just boggles my mind. It's so frustrating. I love my teachers, and I could not be a bigger advocate for giving these men and women that and so much more. They are with our most valuable people, our children, sometimes more hours than we are. That's right. And the value we place on them is laughable sometimes. It's criminal. It absolutely is. Let's read some of these comments before we go to before we end the show. Randy says, my kids went to a school in the Moreland district that required parental participation. It was an in-district charter school. There are some schools, some private schools where you have to either give money or donate a certain number of hours or whatever. I think that parental participation is a given. If you can, some parents can't. We live in an area where parents have to work all the time. I think there can be a way around it if you can work with people's schedules or have different options. But yeah, it's going to be a difficult time, I think, in the near future for schools and for students until we get this together. It just is going to be. Okay, that's our show. Tomorrow is Friday. I still got to decide what I'm going to eat. It's going to be stormy, though. I want something warm and cozy. Maybe like a soup. Maybe I'll try and make soup. Maybe I'll make a soup.
What I always find warm and cozy is Indian food.
Ooh, I haven't had Indian food.
I love the tikka masala. It's like this warm chicken butter sauce over rice. It's good.
Is that the same as butter chicken, or is it not the same as butter chicken?
I've heard of butter chicken. It's tikka masala, I think. You can get it really spicy or really mild.
I want it really spicy. Okay, so that's Kim McCallister's vote. I'll put that down unless somebody changes my mind.
Find us the best tikka masala in the South Bay. You find it.
Oh, does anybody have any recommendations? The Nikki Medoro Show at gmail.com. Please click that thumbs up button. Oh, gumbo. Don't say gumbo to me, Natalie, because I love gumbo, but I just had it, and I have not had tikka masala ever. I don't think I have. So I might have to give it a shot. There's a couple of restaurants I'm still trying to go out to. I just have not been able to, and this rain needs to go away. It really freaking does. All right, yeah. Click the thumbs up button if you can. Please consider donating to our Patreon, theNikkiMedoroShow.com.
Thank you to everyone who does. Absolutely.
Yes. The Nikki Medoro Show at gmail.com is our PayPal and our email address. So reach out to me if you want sponsorship opportunities, you want to sponsor a newscast or whatever. Consider picking up some merchandise at our shop at theNikkiMedoroShop.com. Yes, Kim McCallister.
Everybody right now, on the count of 3, click the like button. 1, 2, 3. Boom.
Boom. It's free. It's right there. You just do it right there. Tomorrow, we're going to talk about tolls and more tolls coming to Bay Area freeways. It's insane. You know how I feel about paying for roads I've already paid for. It's kind of BS. We will have a Friday food segment. Tim Sika won't be there, but we will definitely talk a little bit about the Oscars and have some fun with that. Until tomorrow. Bye.
Nikki, you're all so awesome. You're proud, like a beautiful blossom. You're also the best. I really can't rest. You're all so awesome.
Wow. Okay.